Welcome back to an overcast day out here on the dock. As you probably guessed from the title, the thumbnail, and the intro, this is the firearm that we are going over today. This is the Canik TTI Combat. So I'm sure many of you guys have heard about this through your social media feeds after SHOT Show, because there was a ton of hype about this gun. Essentially, the big news was that there was going to be something that had the Taran Tactical Innovations branding on it and the specs and the performance that folks expect from a TTI gun that was MSRP'd under $1,000. That was the big news. And as of right now, when you guys are watching this video, these are available for sale. So I've actually had mine in for, I guess, almost 2 months now. We've put a bunch of rounds through it, and we're gonna let you guys know about the feature set that this gun has, how it's performed, all the little intricacies that Taran Tactical put into this gun. And then I suppose at the end, we'll talk about what I think of it overall. But first thing up, we're gonna do is get up close and personal and look at all the details compared to a previous Canik model, just so you guys have some sort of idea of what they changed. But before we do that, let's get a razor real quick. These days, as an FFL, it's becoming increasingly difficult to stay in compliance with ever-changing laws, directives, etc. coming out of the ATF Congress, as well as all 50 states. Additionally, FFL revocation is at an all-time high, and people are getting their FFLs taken for minor infractions. Automatic FFL is an add-on to a business's website that handles all the compliance involved with selling firearms online. It automatically verifies the receiving FFL's license number as well as the address, so that way a customer can't put the address in incorrectly and the package ship out to a non-FFL address. And Automatic FFL offers easy integration with most websites' hosting services. Automatic FFL doesn't collect customer information, so there's no need to worry about a security breach. Additionally, they are constantly updating their system to make sure that the FFLs that they have on file are current and not expired. So with all of that, check out Automatic FFL for all of your FFL needs. Now let's get on with the video. So when you get your gun in, it does come in this box. This is a very high quality box. This would be TSA approved for travel, for example. It has the O-ring seals on there, as well as our lockable points. And then of course, snaps in with these press and pull buttons. So again, a very, very high quality case. I realize typically I don't talk about cases here on the channel, but this one is definitely a little bit different and adds some value to it. It has the TTI Combat engraving there, or the insert, I guess you could say. Then here we have our manual. And then we have our gun. Now these are going to be available, at least as of what I understand, both with and without the optics. So you do see that we have our cut foam here. We have the pistol itself, 22 round or 21 round mag, depending on how you load it. I've gotten both in there. And then we have our 18 round mag as well. We have our tool set. So this little thing right here, that's what this is. There are actual tools in there. So anything you need to work on the gun, nuts, drivers, bolts for optics, all that sort of stuff is packed in there. And then it has the little end there that they go into, the driver. So pretty cool there. We have several different optics plates. There's a ton of them. I think there's 6 total. But we'll just pull out 4 here just to show you, just for different optics out there. Now this is cut for larger size optics, as opposed to previous Caniks, which we'll talk about here in just a second, that typically were cut for the Shield RMS type pattern. These are cut for your standard, like if you want to use a SRO, RMR, Delta Point Pro, etc. All of those there will fit. We do have our interchangeable back straps on there. Right now I have the large back strap on there because I have relatively large hands. Then we'll get into the second layer of our box here, and you guys will see some other things in there. If you're the version you get rather comes with the optic, you'll have your optics manual in there, you'll have your lens cloth, and you'll have your tools. So these tools do different things. This one here is for the optic itself, and it allows you to install it as well as zero it. And then we have our other tool here, which is just for zeroing. And then we also have our cleaning kit portion here, which is our rod, our brush that goes through. And then we have our punch. If I can get it out, it's snug in there. This punch will allow you to do a lot of things on the gun. Take any of the pins out, as well as interchange the back straps. That's what that is for. We have our little speed loader there for your magazine. And then we have, this is just the top of the actual slide from where I put the optic on. This is our holster. It is retention adjustable via this screw right here, which is kind of cool. Some of the early Canik holsters have been not so great in my opinion. This one's great. terms of like a competition holster. You can see it has this speed cut there on the top, but still, of course, is going to protect your trigger guard, which is what matters. Then you can adjust the belt size there on the bottom via the screw. No issues with that holster at all, actually. It's pretty darn good. Then we have this gold coin there with the TTI logo. Kind of ties it in with the John Wick, if you will, theme of the gun. And then, again, we're going to get all that out of the way, and let's just focus on the gun. First thing we're going to do here is just make sure that it's clear. We're going to hit our magazine release, which is checkered and fancy. Take out our magazines. You guys can see there, these have the TTI marked base plates. This 18-round one here, of course, is aluminum. It looks very similar to the standard aluminum-based Canik base pads. That said, this one is definitely different and very similar to what Taran Tactical makes for various guns out there, not just the Caniks out there. But obviously we have our witness holes in the back as well, and the magazines are made by Mekgar, one of the, if not the best magazine manufacturer on the planet, in my opinion. So we cannot be mad about that. We're going to check and make sure we are clear by pushing up there on our slide stop and slide lock, which is ambidextrous. You can see in there the firearm itself is clear. Now we're going to go through it butt to tip, if you will, like we're in the Navy. So we do have a flared mag well on there that you guys can see. It is removable via that screw if you want to remove it. One reason you would want to remove it is to change out your back straps. So if you have to change your back straps out, you're going to have to take that out. So we did that, and everything worked out just fine. It does have a nice flare to it, and the actual bevel in the frame is better than previous versions. So I suppose we'll show you that right here. I'm not sure if you can tell, but on the previous versions here, there's a little bit less fit on it. At least in my examples, I'm not sure if that is across the board. So it's possible that it could go in the mag well here and get hung up on the actual frame. Here on the TTI version, it is beveled a little bit better, especially on the sides. The front actually is probably about the same, but on the sides, it's definitely beveled in a little bit better. I've never had a problem with these generations of Caniks in their mag well having that issue. It's just something to point out there that it is slightly different. I also mentioned the magazine release. You guys can see here, this one, the SFX Rival comes with different interchangeable versions. You can make them longer or shorter. I have it in the short configuration. That is how I prefer it. However, the Taran Tactical version does not give you that option. That said, I've never had any issues with this one. When I'm gripping the pistol, I'm not accidentally hitting it, which is generally speaking one of the reasons I don't like extended mag releases. So I think they did a good job of finding a nice intermediate size, if you will, so not too big, so that way it's going to interfere with your shooting, but still large enough to allow for quick mag changes. Now, one of the features I love about this gun versus the other ones is the grip texture. So anybody who's watched the channel for a while knows that I love aggressive grip texture on basically every single gun except for dedicated, like small concealed carry guns, because I get why you wouldn't want it there. And they absolutely made this one aggressive. On the sides, it's much more aggressive than previous Caniks, but really on the front and back strap is where the aggressiveness pays off, in my opinion. It really does stick to your hand, and then here, when you're coming in there on your sport hand, it definitely gives you something to bite into, much more so than you would get on the previous version. So again, I'm not doing a comparison video, I just want to show you how they've changed and listened to what people are saying. So here, definitely less aggressive, and then back here, we just have these pebbles, which are fine. They're better than nothing for sure, and they're better than the early Caniks, but it just doesn't give you as much bite, particularly with your support hand, in my opinion, as does the TTI version. So we definitely like that for sure. Continuing on up, note that this is a Cerakote finish on there, all the gold parts that you guys see. And what's actually interesting is that they actually have shadows in there as well. That's actually in the Cerakote. That's not from wear, from me using it. It was designed that way, so that definitely is cool. We have an undercut there on the trigger guard and the double undercut as well, so that way you can get your sport hand nice and high when you're gripping the firearm. Serrations there up front for those of you guys who like to grip it like that. Up to you if you want to. And then we have our 1913 rail. We have 3 different slots there up front. And I should note there, if you kind of compare size, this one here has a 4.6-inch barrel, which we'll talk about a little bit more here in just a second. But this one, the SFX Rival, for example, has a 5-inch barrel. So the way the slides are designed and the weights of them actually are different. So that's an interesting point to note. So your reciprocating mass is going to be different. Now, one thing that is always going to be a star on these guns is going to be the trigger. This one here has the TTI version of the trigger. So it's similar to what you get with this trigger, but just kind of Taran Tacticaled out a little bit. So it's a little bit wider, and what that does there is it gives you more surface to apply that pressure across. And basically, our brake here is right at the 90-degree angle, as you guys can see. And on my trigger scale, it breaks anywhere from 3.8 to 4 pounds. And then our reset, very short, very tactile, and then you're right back on the wall. just like that. So if you guys like a 90-degree trigger break, for most of you, you're going to be able to set that up for your hands by choosing the right back strap. And it's very consistent and very little over travel, as you guys can see, because that aluminum shoe meets up with the frame and it just stops it from going back any further. These are some of the, if not the best striker fire triggers out there on the market. And of course here, this one having the TTI treatment is very nice. However, it's this also, the SFX Rival series, very nice as well. Honestly, if I gave them to you side by side, I'm not sure you'd be able to tell a difference, but regardless, that's not a con because they're both very, very good triggers. Continuing on up to the slide itself, we have different serrations than we've seen in past models, and they're very useful. There's no slip right now. My hands are a little bit wet from the humidity out here and not having any issues grasping them. And then one big difference, like we talked about in the beginning, is the optic system is different. So this is the new Canik optic, and if you guys have watched my previous videos where we've had the Canik, I think there's only one, honestly, but it died. I killed that optic, and unfortunate, but what it did, that feedback led them to go ahead and make a new optic that is much better in my opinion. This one we've had zero issues with at all. It has a 6 MOA dot, and again, these will be available as combo packages just depending on what you want to go with. But it has a nice large window. It's actually bigger than an SRO, which is kind of cool, and very easy to pick the dot up with these little index points there on the side. That is something I like. Now, as I mentioned, the plate system is different. This is actually an insert there underneath it, and this one here is aluminum. Now, the sights that come with it are actually excellent as well, so if you're not into optics or if you just want to use the iron sights, you absolutely can do so. We have our black serrated rear, which with that square notch on there, and then our protected fiber optic front, which definitely draws your eye to it. It's very thin as well, so I suppose that lends itself to competition and precision type shooting. That said, guys, these are perfectly fast sights for, you know, quote unquote gunfighting as well. I see no issues with that. Continuing on forward, like we mentioned, 4.6-inch barrel, has the TTI logo on there, has a nice feed ramp for feeding hollow points, which we have tested. Time to test some hollow points. We have some 115 grain S&B loaded up. We will see. Woo, that's flat. Runs it. Continuing on forward, we do have our witness holes, or speed holes, if you will, cut out in the slide, and that's just to get the slide down to the appropriate weight. Speaking of weight, this gun comes with two different springs. So it has the spring, obviously, that we came in here from the factory, and that is for supersonic rounds. It also has a different spring that they say in the manual anyway is for using subsonic rounds, so let's test that out. Right now we have the standard spring in there, but we have some subsonics. The gun has been flawless to date with supers. We're going to see if it'll run the subs with that spring or if it needs the extra spring that it comes with. So 147 grain, let's see. Still seem to run it. The ejection looks exactly the same. Interesting. As y'all saw, I didn't have any issues with that subsonic ammunition. We tested two different types, both Minuteman as well as Aguila. Once again, subsonic rounds with the standard spring. Both of them ran fine. That said, if you do have any issues with it, swapping out for the spring that comes with it for subsonic rounds should help out. Now, springing guns that are comped is kind of a art because you're trying to time the person's grip strength with the weight of the slide, with the power of the ammo, as well as how much gas is being vented off by our brake here. So speaking of that, let's lock it back and get a better look at it. So I'm not going to take this gun apart due to YouTube's current rules, unfortunately, but an interesting thing about this brake is that the actual barrel itself is not threaded. It has indexing lines in it, and basically what you do is you just push this point right here in, and then you slide it about, I don't know, 30 degrees left or 30 degrees right, and the comp comes right off if you want to do maintenance or things like that. But it is very effective. If I had to estimate, I would say that it probably reduces your slide rise by anywhere between 15 to 25%. That said, it is going to be a little bit louder. One day I was actually shooting this with a friend on the range, and it wasn't just myself out there having a sad pity party. And he actually noted that it was actually louder, so to his ear, and he was a new shooter. So not Not too hard to pick up on that, but it does help if you're trying to shoot fast and flat. And then you'll note there our barrel is nitrided, and it also has that spiral fluting on there as well. Now that we looked at it up close and personal, a few things to talk about before we close the video out. Number one is going to be reliability. Always important with any gun, whether it be competition, home defense, whatever the case may be. And this gun right now has just under 600 rounds through it. Again, the vast majority of that being Minuteman munitions, mostly 115 grain. And with me firing the gun has had 0 malfunctions of any kind, to include the subsonics that you've seen, to include the hollow points that you guys have seen to this point. And we ran 147 grain Fiocchi as well as 115 grain S&B hollow point through it with, again, 0 issues of any kind. That said, my wife came out to the range, and my wife, for people who watch the channel, you guys will know that she is not a frequent shooter. She's not a very good shooter. I'm not saying that to belittle her in any way. I'm just trying to give you guys some context as to what I'm about to discuss here. So she was firing 115 grain Minuteman munitions through the gun, and we had a malfunction. What do you think?
I like it. It doesn't have super bad recoil, so yeah, it's an overall nice gun.
The most likely reason for what you guys just saw there in that video is her grip strength. So she has notoriously had issues over the years. If you guys, again, have watched the channel for a while, you will have seen that she is a limp wrister. There's just no getting around it. And those problems can be accentuated when you have a comped gun. It just changes the way the guns have to be sprung due to the fact of someone not holding it tightly. So is it a problem of the gun? I don't think so. I really don't. I think it's just a combination of things that all led to it. And again, if you guys have watched the channel here for a while, you'll know that she's had the same issue with other guns. Now, I say that to say that I've had 0 issues at all gripping the gun, and I would imagine the vast majority of people who are going to be looking to purchase this gun are going to have grip strength much more similar to mine than my wife's. But we always show what happens here on the channel. So again, with me shooting several different types of ammo, 0 issues of any kind. But just beware, if you know somebody who is a limp wrister or who has limp wrist issues, this might not be the ideal gun for them. That said, that's not who this gun is designed for. In my opinion, who is it designed for? I think it's for people who want to go fast and win competitions, and do so at a sub $2,000 price range, which most guns that this gun is going to compete with are going to be in that price range. And I think it does it pretty darn well. The accuracy on this gun was excellent. When I was zeroing this dot, again, it's a 6 MOA dot. I was zeroing at 25 yards. And again, just with Minuteman 115 grain full metal jacket, the first group I laid down with it was 2.5 inches. So, and that's not using a rest. That's just literally me on a bag at 25 yards. So I would say the accuracy is pretty darn good. That's not match ammo. It's nothing like that. So just ball ammo. It's shooting pretty darn good groups, and certainly better than what I can shoot in a standing dynamic environment. So price point on this, the MSRP right now is $949. Now, as of when I'm filming this, I have not seen any retailer actually sell it for MSRP, and I predict that that probably won't be the case for a while. Now, why do I say that? Well, just as an example, last year I reviewed the steel frame version of the Canik that came out, and that gun's been out for over a year now, and to date I still have not seen any retailers sell it for less than the MSRP. The demand for it is just simply too high, and I think this is going to be the case with this gun as well. I think the demand for it is going to be sky high, so if you see it anywhere near MSRP for at least the first year, I would say, and who knows how long they're going to continue making these, then I would say that's probably about as good as you're going to find it, because again, just based on the history of popular Caniks, which I think this is going to fall into, I think it's going to be you know, somewhere in the MSRP range, or maybe even a little bit higher, just depending on when you actually find one in stock. So there's that. Basically, what are the cons to it that I see? Well, the only con I really see, from my perspective anyway, is going to be this magazine right here. So I say that, I've mentioned this in several other videos, is that if you're gonna offer a gun that has a magwell on it like this, I definitely think you should have a magazine that's a little bit easier to grip. And the reason for that is, should you have a double feed, you're gonna need to grip and rip that magazine out. And with these magwells here, it makes it a little bit difficult, even with this added aluminum base plate on there. Now, it does have ridges on it. I'm not sure if I can roll it in here so you guys can see. It has those ridges on there specifically for that reason. Those ridges are there so you can grip and rip it, but there's just not a lot there to get a purchase of. So I guess my con of the gun would be that it should just come with these base plates. That's my opinion anyway. And this apparently, from what I understand, in this configuration does fit in all the competition boxes for people who are concerned about that, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned with being able to grip and rip a magazine in the event that we have a double feed. And I'd be much more comfortable doing so with this base plate than the other one. So I suppose if I could make it improve, if you will, if they make another version of this, is just come with these magazines or with some version that's easier to grab onto with that mag well. Now, is that nitpicking? Yes, it absolutely is. However, one thing that's been great about Canik over the years, and I've been reviewing Canik guns now for probably 7 or 8 years, is that they listen. It's one of the better things about the brand. And when I say things, oftentimes in the next generation or iteration of guns that come out, it's fixed. And not always, you know, they obviously don't have to listen to me, but they do listen. And that's what's got us to the point now where we have guns like this at this price point. At least that is my opinion anyway. So I think with that, we've said all the important things that you need to know if you're potentially looking at picking up one of these guns. If you guys have one of these guns, let us know how it's been down below in the comment section. And if you like this type of video and you're not seeing 2 videos a week here on the channel, that means one of 2 things has happened. One, you're either not subscribed, so you can fix that by hitting the subscribe button, or you're being censored by a big tech algorithm from my content. Easy way to get around that is to sign up for my email at the website here on your screen. This email goes out once a month, and it has all the videos since the previous month's video went out. So that way you're, again, not being censored, and my videos go straight from me to your inbox. Additionally, over there at that website, we have a lot of things that we can't say or talk about on YouTube, but definitely if you like this video, go check out my website, see what's over there. I think you'll like some of the things that you do see. Additionally, if this thing goes on sale, if the optic goes on sale, which by the way, I think is like $249, a lot of value there. Maybe we'll do a separate review. If the magazines go on sale, if the ammo goes on sale, if the lights, lasers, etc. that you guys have seen me using go on sale, it will be in my daily deals email. The email has 8 of the best products deals that we find around the internet. It goes up every day. If the item is in the email, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet. So that way it saves you guys some time because I've already done the price comparisons for you, and hopefully saves you some money as well. There's also a good meme in there, which a lot of people like. So if you like Pro 2A memes, probably sign up for the email as well. And with that, guys, that's all I got for you. Thank you all for watching. I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.